Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue, I'm Eric. Are you planning a trip to Busch Gardens Tampa? Well, it is my home park, and I've gone several times. So, in order to help you out as you're planning your visit, here are the top 10 travel tips you must know when going to Busch Gardens Tampa. Before we get to the 10 tips, subscribe to the channel so you know when new theme park content comes out. I do a lot more than just travel tip videos. I cover theme park engineering, park rankings, and a whole lot more. Now, these are going to cover pretty much every aspect of going to the park, whether it's trying to get there, getting tickets, getting on every ride, getting good food, and so on and so forth. I will try to cover it. And if you have any specific questions, let me know in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer them. Let's jump right in. The first tip is when you should go. The best time to go to Busch Gardens Tampa, like most parks, is midweek, especially during the school time of the Tampa area, if possible. If you can go when kids are in school, you will avoid quite a few crowds. The worst times to go are most Saturdays and sometimes Sundays, and also spring and summer break. I have found that Christmas break, or winter break if you prefer, is not really a bad time to go. So if you go during this time, you won't have as bad of crowds as spring break. That's what you mostly want to avoid, and the best day of the week typically is Thursdays. So just know that if you're trying to plan a specific day, it is best to go either on a weekday or a time that's just not really in summer or spring. The next tip is how you should get your tickets. The best method is definitely online. Getting tickets online on the Busch Gardens Tampa website or similar will save you money and will also save time at the gate because you'll be able to walk right in with the tickets instead of having to buy them before going through. This could save upwards to a half hour of waiting, and on the worst days, an hour no doubt. Tip number 3 is when you should get to the park. I highly recommend getting to the park a half hour before the opening time. Check the website so you know when the park opens. It can be many different times, 9:30, 10, 10:30, you never know, but you want to try to get there a half hour early, and maybe it'll seem weird standing outside the gates of the park for a half hour, but it will be worth it because you will save hours of time spent waiting in lines by being one of the first in. So if you have your ticket right away, and you can just go, and no one else is going to be there a half hour early, and by that I mean few people. There will be some. But a half hour early is a good time. If you're willing to splurge for an hour early, that's also worth it, but I'm not quite sure how many people are willing to do that. But I do recommend getting to the park early, so you don't have to wait as long, and you beat the main crowds there. The next tip is parking. When you're parking, I recommend you go with the general. You might think paying extra for the closer parking is good, and it is much, much closer. So I can see where it might be, but I don't personally see the appeal in it because there is a very efficient tram system that can get you from the main parking lot area to the main entrance if you want. I don't think the walk is terrible, but it is somewhat long, and if you are running late, it might be good to go with the preferred parking, but overall, I think general is typically the way to go. Now, the rides. This is a very important tip. Tip 5 is what you should ride. So if you are trying to get on thrilling rides, if you are an adrenaline junkie, you love big roller coasters and such, the best rides to go on here are Iron Gwazi, Kumba, Shikra, Montu, Cheetah Hunt, Falcon's Fury, and to a lesser extent, Cobra's Curse and Scorpion. I'd also say you should consider the 2 water rides. And the ride Tigress, the premiere at Skyrocket 2, is a weaker version of a ride that can be found in other parks such as Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. So if you've been on similar rides to Tigress, it's not worth waiting a huge amount of time for. And the same can be said for Sand Serpent, especially since it's a wild mouse, and it's not really the best version. And there is also a Screamin Swing, which is a fun flat ride that is under construction right now, and it will be a great ride when it opens for thrill seekers, especially if you've not done anything like it yet. If you don't really like thrills, the absolute must-do attractions are the Serengeti Railway, with its excellent close-ups of the animals and many of the rides, the Sky Ride, which provides aerial views of the animals, Air Grover, a smaller roller coaster, Ubenga Benga Bumper Cars, a fun bumper cars ride, and the Caravan Carousel, which is one of the most dazzling carousels I've ever been on. The next very important tip is what order you should hit the rides in. So this is one that can really dictate how long you spend waiting in lines. Because if you go to a certain ride first, you might find yourself waiting way longer other ones, even if you had waited pretty much no time for the first. So here's what I recommend. You start with the stuff in the front of the park. This is not the case in a lot of parks, but here, rides such as Kumba and Shikra do not open right when the park does, so you're going to want to hit them later. I recommend, if you see Iron Gwazi testing and it seems like it's going to open right away in the morning, you should go to that first. Then you should go to Cheetah Hunt and Cobra's Curse. And if Iron Gwazi is not open, Cheetah Hunt is absolutely the first ride you should do, because it often has 2-hour lines for the entire day after the first half hour or so of the park opening. So if you can get on it first, you'll be saving a load of time. Cobra's Curse is similar, sometimes shorter lines, but often over 45 minutes, and you definitely do not want to be waiting, especially when the ride is somewhat unreliable and breaks down fairly often. While you're in the area, you should hit up Montu, then you should go to the Pantopia area and enjoy rides such as Falcon's Fury, Scorpion, and Sand Serpents. After this, you should head over to Kumba. Next up would be Congo River Rapids if you want to do that. Then you'll be in the area with Shikra and the Stanley Falls Flume, both very good rides to hit. Tiger should be next, and that one could be a 30-45 minute wait, so depending on how interested you are in riding it, maybe you'll skip it, but maybe not. And by this point, you'll be back at Iron Gwazi's area, and Iron Gwazi needs some time to warm up to be at its full potential, and it's pretty much the best roller coaster in the world if you can get it at that time. So you'll definitely want to try to get multiple rides on that one especially. And I think at this point, if you want to add in the train and sky ride afterwards, you'll be able to do so. And with this plan, you should be able to hit pretty much every major ride in only 4 hours. And because the park is typically open for 8 to 10 hours a day, you'll be able to do a lot of re-rides, and I think this plan works quite well. The next tip is food. What food should you get? Well, if you want a full sit-down meal, Zambia Smokehouse is absolutely the way to go. There's other pretty good restaurants, but Zambia Smokehouse is the best. It has great barbecue, and there are definitely some other restaurants that fit certain dietary needs, but if you don't have any issues, Zambia Smokehouse has great brisket and ribs, it smells excellent, it's nearby Shikra, which is nice, and I think it's a fantastic one. That said, there is one must-have food in this park, and that is Twisted Tail Pretzels. If you've ever had cinnamon bread at Dollywood or Silver Dollar City, or butterbeer at Islands of Adventure, I think this is on par with the raves that those get. It is not usually a long line to get this stuff, so you won't have to worry about that. You can walk right in, it'll take you 5 minutes to grab the pretzel, you can eat on the go, and I think it is very filling, delicious, buttery. It's one of the most wonderful things I've eaten in any theme park, and it's good to have as you're going from ride to ride, so it will not be a huge time-consuming effort to get, and it's just as delicious as anything else you can get in the park. Now, I'll give you a tip about seeing the animals, because that's a pretty major attraction here. I think there's a lot to enjoy, and the first thing I will talk to you about is the shows. Outside of each animal exhibit, such as Cheetah Run and at Edge of Africa, there are show times. These will tell you when trainers will be out, either teaching you about the animal or feeding them or similar. And this will help you plan your day out, knowing when you want to get to each one. I don't think there's really a better way to do it. You just have to go up to where each of these are, whether it be the Cheetah Run right outside of Cheetah Hunt or similar. Just look at the times and you will know when you have to try to get there. The shows typically run on time, and it's not usually crowded enough that you have to worry about getting a certain standing area or similar, so it's not something that you have to get there way early for. Now, outside of these shows, there is quite a bit to enjoy. Cheetah Run, you can often see the cheetahs just running around, even when you're not getting to see a trainer show. Edge of Africa has hippos, hyenas, and lions, and even a crocodile. Quite a bit to enjoy in that one, and it's a nice walk that you can do in between riding things like Montu and Cheetah Hunt and Pantopia. And then there's Mayambi Reserve. This one is a walk that takes you from kind of near the front of the park into the Nairobi area, and you will get to enjoy very large and expansive habitats for gorillas and chimpanzees. The tiger encounter is also a very special one. It's over in the Jungala area, and one interesting thing is that you can walk into this area where you crawl into a tunnel, and as you come out, you will be in a glass tube inside the tiger exhibit. It's quite a unique experience, and I highly recommend doing it. You can access it from inside the Tiger Trail area, and it's definitely a must if you are into animals. There's also elephants in the Nairobi area, and Walkabout Way, where you can feed kangaroos and wallabies. They don't fit quite as well with the African theme, but it's still a very nice thing to have. I think if you're into animals, the train ride is also a must, because you will go past the zebras, giraffes, and rhinos, and so much more that people know and love for the main safari of the park. And finally, I'll point out there is an African penguin exhibit, which is a nice little walk, and you just kind of stop right in front of it. You're right along the train, nearby the Nairobi train station, and you can see penguins swimming around, and it's very enjoyable. The next tip, download the app. Busch Gardens Tampa's app will tell you about wait times, what rides are closed, and there's also a sign at the front of the park and also one near Shikra that will tell you wait times as well. But these are very important tips, because even though they aren't always perfectly updated, they can give you a good idea of which rides have short waits. The final tip is Quick Queue. This is the skip the line system, similar to Fast Pass at Disney, or whatever it's called now, and a lot of other ones at other parks. This will allow you to go into a line that is much shorter and save time. It can range anywhere from $15 to $150, depending on the crowd levels of that day. You can do Quick Queue for one skip on each ride, similar to the Fast Track at Hershey Park, or you can do Quick Queue Unlimited for unlimited skip the lines on each ride, plus one on Iron Gwazi. Only some versions do allow a ride on Iron Gwazi though, because it's a new ride, but that will change fairly soon, I'm sure. And you get unlimited on every other one that counts, including pretty much every major thrilling ride in the park. The cheapest times for Quick Queue are autumn and winter weekdays, and the most expensive is summer weekends. So if you're willing to pay for it and the day looks really crowded, it can be worth it and will save quite a bit of time, but I think, unless it's extremely crowded, you should only go for the regular Quick Queue, as you'll be able to get rides without using that Quick Queue that are very short waits, no more than 5 minutes, and most days I go, I don't think the Quick Queue is really that necessary, but overall, these are the tips I recommend you follow if you want to have the best time at Busch Gardens Tampa. But if you have any more questions, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more theme park content. I'll see you next time.